Hi, good evening, good morning. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Mandy Cran and welcome to my weekly moment of reflection. Today I'm talking about quitting, and I'm going to be sharing a personal story with you a bit later on, which I hope to illustrate the power of what I'm talking about today. So I've been doing these moments of reflection for about 4 years. It actually started when after my father died. I was in quite a bad place, and sometimes I would just see a lovely picture or a quote, or somebody would say something to me, and I just think, oh. And that would just sort of help me that particular week, lift me, make me see the world in a slightly different way. So that's really what this is all about. I want to try and help people see things in a way. Sorry, the doorbell's just gone off and I'm in the middle of doing a live video. So I will keep on going and hopefully he'll go away. So what I want to talk about today is quitting. And as I said, I was in a difficult place 4 years ago. And sometimes I just needed somebody to help me through the week. So what I want to talk about now is initially a study that was done, that were two done back in 1969, 1979 in Yale and Harvard. And what they did is they asked a lot of students how many of them had written down their goals for life. And what they discovered was that 84% of students had done nothing, 13% had written down their goals, but 3% had written down goals and a plan of how they're going to achieve it. Now, what was really, really interesting was that 10 years later, when they went back to those students, the 3% who'd written down their goals and a plan of how to achieve it were earning 10 times more than the rest of the 97% put together. Now, there is some debate whether these studies actually took place, because although they're very, very common and very well known, there's actually been no proof found in the universities. But I think the reality is, and we all know this, that if somebody knows what they want to achieve, they actually work out a plan of how to get there, and they refuse to give up, and they just keep on being focused. They're always going to achieve much more than the person who gives up. By definition, I mean, that's just a fact of life. And so I just wanted to share a story with you that happened about 22 years ago. I want to take you to the North Atlantic. It's December. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's howling with wind. The vertical waves coming at us from every direction. I'm on a 55-foot yacht, and I'm the skipper. It is a filthy, filthy night. There's icebergs around, so it's bitingly cold, and the wind is picking up all the time. The crew, all the crew bar one, are feeling seasick, and that one person wasn't me, a skipper. And because the wind's increasing, we need to get a smaller sail up on the foredeck because we've got too much sail up. So I'm steering in between being soaked with huge waves and in between throwing up, trying to steer into these vertically sided waves. The mate is on the foredeck, who's also throwing up and trying to give instructions to the one crew member who wasn't seasick, who was on the foredeck doing the sail. This young lad had never been in a boat before, ever. It was his first night at sea. And thankfully he wasn't seasick, so he was our saving grace. But anyway, after about an hour, we managed to get a smaller sail up, and then maybe we could hove to, and then we could lie there the rest of the night. So I thankfully got off the helm, went down below just to check on the boat and everything was okay down below, lifted up the floorboards, and there was 6 feet of water in the bottom of the boat. It just reached the bottom of the engine. And in that precise moment, all I wanted to do was to crawl into a bunk, albeit a ready to be cold and wet bunk, and just go to sleep and not wake up again. Because the amount of effort that I was having to inject and just keeping going was absolutely draining me, and I was absolutely exhausted. And I'd been on that wheel for about 3 or 4 hours at that point because nobody else was capable of doing it. We had to keep the crew down below, they were all so ill. But I knew that if I gave up, what would the consequences be? The consequences would have been either that we all died, which was actually quite high on the cards because the boat was filling with water from a leak that we didn't know where it was at that particular point, and we had to stop that leak. So that was the consequences, and therefore the consequences of carrying on were less than those of giving up. So I got on with it, and we made it to the next morning. We managed to find the leak, we managed to stop the leak, we managed to get the boat clear of water, and took ourselves a bit back on an even keel. The next 4 weeks were pretty tough in a variety of ways, but nothing was as tough as that first night. And it's very interesting, the sea teaches you lots of lessons that being on land doesn't. And this is one of them. If you give up, the consequences are much worse than if you carry on. And that's a really important message of what I wanted to say today. Because so often, when people think about quitting at something, whatever it might be, it's easy to quit. There's no consequences, really. In fact, life gets better, it's not so hard, you feel, as long as you can still eat, feed your family, that sort of thing, then life is absolutely fine. But excuse me, the thing is that if quitting is easy now, what are the consequences in 30 years' time? And this is what really, really matters. There's nothing worse than looking back in your life and saying, I really wish I hadn't given up at X. I wish I'd kept on going. Because actually I'd have been in a very, very different place now. So that's the real message I want you to take away with you today, is whenever you think about quitting and you think, oh, it's all too difficult, I'm just going to give up, think about what the consequences of quitting would be in 30 years' time. And what I'd absolutely love is to hear stories from you about perhaps the time that you have quit and really regretted it, or you thought about quitting and didn't and really benefited and really pleased that you didn't. And I'm sure that those sort of stories would really help other people when they come to that difficult point in their lives. So please do put in the comments below any stories you have about quitting or not quitting. That would be really fantastic. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Mandy Cran, and people come to me when they realise they need to make changes in their life, if they want to have better health and quality family time in the years ahead. And what I see a lot of is people struggling with guilt, particularly mums. So if they're a working mum, they feel guilty because they can't go to school and see the shows and the matches and support their children at school. But if they're a stay-at-home mum, they feel guilty because they've not got the income coming in to help them, have nice holidays and nice presents and so on. So I see a lot of guilt around, particularly for mums. So to try and help you address that, I've written an ebook. It's called 12 Ways to Have More Guilt-Free Time with Your Family. It's free to download. Just go to my Facebook page, which is The Buzz Group Be More, all one word. Just click on the link at the left and you can download that. And I hope you find that of some benefit. So I hope you enjoyed that for today. Next week, I'm back to 10 o'clock at my normal time, here live on Facebook. And I'm going to be talking about mosquitoes. So I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week.